Welcome to the StoryField. This is Josh Allen, and I'm joined by Micah Petrie. This is a podcast created and sponsored by the Allen Firm. At the Allen Firm, we think there are too many unknowns in life's legal situations. The Allen Firm provides legal guidance so you can make a great decision, come to a resolution, and be at peace. For more information about the Allen Firm, visit allenlawfirm.com. Well, we think you will agree that life is complex, business is hard, and living a life of faith can feel complicated. You're in the right place today to hear some great stories of normal people just like us who will inspire you to move forward in life. Thank you for joining us today. We know you're going to be encouraged. So, hey, StoryField, I want you to meet Marlon Woods. So this is a bit of a milestone episode because we have our very first guest who's located on another continent. So
Nice.
So congratulations, Marlon. This is you're breaking ground for us.
It's an honor.
And also, we've never talked today, so this is kind of like a blind date podcast or something. So, man, Marlon, thanks for making time today.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So, I did notice today that you have, it looks like 80,000 followers on Instagram. So I want you to know you're small talented today because I live in a town with a population of about 25,000 people. so, but we have a lot more around us. But I just want you to know, kind of put that in perspective for you. So no pressure here.
No pressure.
So for all of you who like to exercise at home using streaming services, Marlon's name may sound familiar. In fact, like he may have led or created a workout for you through Les Mills International. So Marlon, you're a Les Mills ambassador, and you teach body combat, body pump, and tone. Like, how would you describe that company, Les Mills, if for the outsider? Like, what are they?
They're an international group fitness company, similar to your Beachbody. Trying to think, there's like whoever came up with I guess P90X is under Beachbody, but or like Zumba, like the company Zumba.
Mm-hmm.
So Les Mills is a group fitness company, and they create these classes that people do. They have an online offering that they do at home, and they also have an offering that they have like in gyms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've done it. I mean, that's where we ran across you guys during COVID. So
Right.
thanks, COVID. Yeah, you bet. So Marlon, you've also, so you're involved in it as a strategic kind of oversight for Les Mills. You're an international master trainer. You've owned your own gym. You've served in the
Yes.
U.S. military. You've worked for the National Security Agency. You've worked
Yes.
for the U.S. Department of the Army, and you're an
Yeah.
author. And man, I'm just impressed with all your. So I want to get into this. And you have 4 degrees, is that right? And working on your PhD.
Yeah, working on number 5.
Oh my goodness. So, man, welcome to the show. Like, I appreciate you being here. Did I miss anything? Just in the high level flyby?
No. Yeah, pretty
Okay.
high level. You got it, man. Thanks for having me. I really, really, really appreciate
You
even
bet.
being asked.
Well, so walk us. So we like to kind of develop a little bit of a timeline childhood. So tell us about where you grew up. What that was like. I mean, we wanna know your story, but you got to start us at the beginning.
Yeah, so I grew up Cincinnati, Ohio. Spent the first 18 years of my life there. Grew up, I guess, like if I had to describe my childhood, or that first 18 years in one word, it'd be pressure. A lot of pressure as firstborn, a lot of pressure as a Black man, a lot of pressure, not only like from, those who were putting faith in me. And this isn't some messianic, like, oh, like Marlon is our only hope, but like the sense in a lot of communities, especially, ones that may be lower socioeconomic status, especially Black communities, like Black sons in particular, but even daughters are, they're kind of like, the ticket, and there's pressure like, are you going to be the first one to graduate college? Are you going to go to jail? Are you going to have a kid? Are you going to get involved with drugs? Are you going to be involved in gangs? Like all very real outcomes. And at a very young age, I started playing sports when I was 4 years old. So it's competition, and you're pitted against your friends, and it's who's starting, who's not starting. I never forget, my dad was my baseball coach. I think might have been 7 or 8, maybe. I think I was 7 or 8, and he didn't pick me for the All-Star team. And I wasn't looking for any favors, but I'm like, Dad, I'm the best second baseman we have. I'm like, I'm really good. He was like, no, like you need to know what it feels like to, to lose and to compete. And your cousin Justin is he's on the All-Star team, and Justin and I are like inseparable. And so when he picked him and not me, I was like, it was
Oh
a very
yeah.
it was a huge, even at that young age, it was a huge turning point for me because there's no friends on the field, right? I know you've heard that before. So the first, like, up until I graduated high school, my life was characterized by how good I was at sports and how good I was at school. And that developed in me this insatiable need to achieve
Mm,
for number one, approval of my father. And I'd learned to identify myself by what I could do and how good I could do it. And so it was all about being the best. And I left Cincinnati 2007. I went to school at Bucknell University in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. A liberal arts college, like Shadow Ivy League, one of those like older schools up
mm-hmm.
there. And weirdly, like you spend the first 18 years of your life, trying to become top dog, like everybody in my high school knows me, and I got the friends, and, I go to the parties, and then you start all over. You go to this new school, this new city, this new place, and you're at the bottom again.
Yeah.
And I went through this huge identity crisis, culture shock, identity crisis. I almost failed. Nope, I almost failed I almost failed out of school. My first semester of college, my GPA. Americans will understand this, but no one else in the world does, because they don't use because they don't use the scale we use. But I had a 1.08
Yeah.
after my first semester. Like you have to try to do that. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
that's not too up. That's not too high, man.
you got to try to do that. But it's because I was depressed. I missed home. I was confused, frustrated. Football was way harder than I thought it was going to be. The commitment outside of it, the film, the weightlifting, I was like, I hate it here. I wasn't going to class at all. And that was a huge reality check for me, because I came home and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is what happens. Like you see so many guys who you looked up to, and they're back home, and it's like, oh, what happened? He flunked out. And in your head at the time, it's like, that's never going to happen to me. But here I am at home over Christmas break, getting a letter letting them know that I'm on academic probation. And I'm like, this is how it happens.
Oh my goodness. Well, time out for a second. Were you good at sports growing up?
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
talented.
yeah.
And you're a firstborn of how many brothers and sisters do you have?
Three, three,
So,
three, three younger sisters.
okay. I mean, and that's just extra pressure being the first one, being the
Yeah,
firstborn.
definitely, for
And
sure.
so did you get a scholarship? I mean, did you get asked to go to
Yes,
Bucknell? Okay.
yeah. So I got a
So
scholarship for
football
football and
was your
track.
thing? Okay. And track?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Football and track.
What'd you
Um,
run? What'd you run in? Kind of what position did you play? And then what'd you run on track?
so football, DB, wide receiver, return specialist. Track 100, 200, 4x1, and our coach would make us run the 400 or the 4x4 when we got in trouble.
So
So
you're fast then. Like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah,
running
yeah,
no
definitely.
races.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and you felt that just from the get go. I mean, especially from dad, and especially from just community. Yeah, you're the ticket.
Yeah, like this, it's you start cycling through sports. Like as soon as you start, football in the summer, basketball in the winter, baseball in the spring, and then you see, okay, well, what's working, what's not working. Okay, let's try track, let's try this, until you find your one. And you find your one, and then you take it from 3 sports maybe down to 2 sports. So it's football and basketball, or maybe you do football, basketball, track, to stay in shape throughout the year. And you're trying to see, where's the scholarship going to be, what sports scholarship going to come from. And I've been blessed with a lot of natural talent. It doesn't take me long to become good at anything athletic. Like I can pretty much muscle my way through most things. So I had that going for me. Um, and I relied on that a lot. But as I got older and had to learn to fine tune that and to really dedicate more to the craft is when I really started to
Mm.
become better. And so like when I started every game I played in, but when I was in college
Mm.
after my freshman year.
Well, so yeah,
Um,
so get us there. You graduated. You went to on a was it kind of like a full ride scholarship?
yeah,
I mean that's
but
a full time job. I mean we've had some people on who've been professional athletes, and it's incredible when I hear just your college experience. That's a full time job, not to mention
yeah,
school,
it
and you just
really
kind of it
is.
all hit a point. It hit a point for you where it just like you hit the wall.
Yeah, for sure.
What
And
happened?
you got to make a choice. Like it was, you kind of hit that and you decide. And I had friends, two or maybe three or four friends who decided, well, I'm not playing football anymore. And and that happens all the time. So it's like I had a choice. Said, I can either get my shit together pretty much and put your head down, do the work. This is what you're here for. Hold yourself accountable, grow up. And I'm not saying not doing that is not being grown, because you make decisions best for you. But I knew that not making that decision or deciding to stop would have been a cop out for me. And so I put my head down and I was like, first things first, you gotta get eligible to play.
Yeah, yeah,
1.08 is like dragging an anchor out of the ocean.
yeah.
Um, and so I went to school year round for the rest of I went to school over the summers every year from that first semester until the time I graduated.
Mm. So
Um,
encourage an athlete right now who's started college, who's really talented and feels that same way. What would you say to you back then?
Stay the course,
Yeah,
not say you worked hard and you were blessed and fortunate enough to be where you are right now. So honor that by seeing it
yeah,
through.
yeah. That's good. And that's what you did.
Uh,
So you pulled the anchor out of the ocean. You went full time school. You
yeah,
got eligible, and
yep. Full time. I was doing study hall. I was that kid in every office hours. I was asking questions. I was trying to get feedback on papers. I was like, you need. I was like, that's unacceptable, and I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let my mother down. I don't want to let my little sisters down. I don't want to let anybody down who were those kids that were freshmen, sophomores looking up to me as a senior. I don't want to wind up back home and them wondering, oh well, what happened, and is that going to happen to me?
man, that's good. So did you play all 4 years? What was your first
Yep,
degree in?
all 4 years. Played all 4 years, football and track. First degree was political science.
Okay.
Yeah, political science.
Now, did you go on from there? So when did the military service come into the picture? Was that right after school, or did you go back and continue your education?
Yeah, so the 2.5, like 2 3 years after the 2 years following my graduation were quite a whirlwind. I graduated May 21st, 2011. May 22nd, I went to work in the U.S. Senate.
Okay.
And so I went to the U.S. Senate and I was working for Senator Sherrod Brown. I started as an administrative assistant.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure I mentioned that. Sorry, Marlon. Like,
Yeah, no,
I
no,
guess,
all
but
good, no, all
like,
good. It
okay.
was so short lived. It was so short lived. So I was at the Capitol working on the Hill. One of the most tumultuous, stressful. You want to talk about high powered, like just like being like senators are like rock stars. Like
Yeah.
they're like that. Like these are the like they're truly like rock stars, and the offices and the people who support them. It is when Congress is in session. It is go go go, and I don't think I've ever felt like a smaller fish
Yeah.
than I was when I was there. Like a just like confidence, just None.
Yeah.
I'm like, who am I? Like compared to these people, like
Yeah.
not only the senators and representatives, but the chiefs of staff, like the speech writers, like just these people just walking around, literally making history. Like they're
There are
literally
so
part
many
of history.
people behind the scene that we have no idea.
It's
Is there? I mean,
no idea about. Like it was just mind blowing to bear witness to the machine.
mm,
And I was fortunate enough, I worked really hard because I interned with them before I worked for them. I was fortunate enough to, get offered I got moved up to a legislative correspondent. And I worked with housing and urban development. I
mm.
worked with and defense as well. And so those are like my specialties. And so I would get to sit in on a lot of committee meetings, walking through the U.S. Capitol, like
Oh,
going to
dude,
the
you've been
House of
behind the scene,
Representatives.
man. You have
Oh,
been
bro,
behind the
like
scene.
it was
Wow.
like all through the Senate building, just like you walk in and you see, Senator John Kerry walk past, or back then, I saw, Colin Powell, and it's like it's just it's it was crazy. It was just mind blowing. And I did that for about 18 months, and I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to work for a three-letter agency. I was like, I want to work for DEA, FBI, ATF, like every other guy in the world wants
Yeah.
to, and like especially
Yeah,
in the US.
for
You
sure.
graduate college and you're like, I want to be an FBI. And so I'm trying to figure out because I enjoyed politics, but I was like it's just not doing it for me right now. I think I had too much testosterone and ego in me, and I was like, I need a release. And so I had a talk with this ex spy actually who used to work in the CIA.
Oh,
He
wow.
was he was a defense and intelligence consultant, and I don't even remember how I got this meeting with him, but he was like, "Yeah, we can sit down and we can talk." And I'm like, "What do I need to do?" And he says, "Well, you need to join the military." And weirdly, I'd never even considered joining the military. I got offered a scholarship from West Point and the Naval Academy. But I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna go to college. I'm not gonna do that. Like it's college. Like I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
turn both of those down.
Oh, wow. West Point and the Naval Academy.
Yeah.
Sorry, no.
Turn both of those down. I always hindsight there's so many we'll come across
Yeah.
a few things I've turned down, that which is why I'm here now, which is it's just crazy. But so both my grandfathers, my dad, my great grandfather, they all served in the military, but it's never been something I'd even thought about. So he tells me this, and I'm like, okay, so I need to join the army. He's like, and you should probably enlist because you'll be able to guarantee that you can get the job you want. You don't have as much control if you go the officer route. So I'm like, okay, so I need to play the long game. So I need to join the army, get this experience, and then when I'm done, I'll be able to do what I want to do. The next day, I go and take the test.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness, man. I was gonna ask you how
yeah.
long did you sleep on that? You didn't. You
Oh,
slept on it
I
one
didn't.
night.
I did it
Oh,
the
wow.
next day I went and took the test. I happened to find an ASVAB test the next day that was being held. I registered as quickly as I could, went and took the test. They were like, okay, cool. It's like you qualify for any job you want to. I'm like, yep, let's move forward. Got to pick signals intelligence analyst. This was 2013, 2012, end of 2012, maybe 12, 13, I can't remember. And they're like, you're going to be in the 6 month, there's a 6 month delay. So you'll take 6 months, you'll go and, train, do whatever, and then you'll leave 6 months from now. And so that's when I kind of started getting into exercise a little bit more. I got my training certification because, I was working at a gym, trying to get in shape, ready to go into the army, go into the military. And that is actually when I so I did basic training. And then after basic training, you go to advanced individual training to learn your specialty. And that's actually when I started school,
Oh,
my master's, because I was hell bent on making sure that I was stacked against anybody else who I was applying against. I wanted to make sure I was above and beyond. And so I do my intelligence school was 6 months. And so
Wow.
I do that stuff during the days, and at nights I would do my schoolwork.
Wow.
And I I did that I did that like while I was in AIT, graduated. I did that once I got to my unit. I did that when I was, while I was in Afghanistan. I had to like, do stuff in batches if I didn't have, like if I wasn't going to have signal, if I wasn't going to have something. Um, and I got my master's 2014. And weirdly, I graduated with my executive, with my XO, my first lieutenant. Him and I were in the same
Wow.
class, which is really cool. Um, and
So
so
how long was that? So that was so within a couple of years. So the next day after the 18-month period on the Capitol Hill, then you signed up, then you did basic, and then you did the 6-month training. But after that, you were in school and you deployed.
yeah, so yep, so I got to my unit 2013. Was still in school, and as soon as I got to my unit, we were in this rapidly deployable multi-mission SIGINT team. And basically with small teams, I would go and we would attach to infantry units, you would attach to SF, you'd attach to Ranger, whoever, um, and be there what's that word? Intelligence, not body, but elements. There you go. Yeah, their intelligence element on the ground with them, or providing support from the FOB. And so as soon as I got to my unit, we were like literally every week, just like new training, like low level voice intercept or SIGINT terminal guidance or land navigation, water survival, mountain training, cold weather, hot weather. Like we were like, convoy operations, helicopter operations, 50
Wow.
cal, advanced rifle marksmanship, night rifle marksmanship, like just all these, like we were just doing, doing training, which made it actually really fun, quite
Yeah.
enjoyable and so it made the time go by, a lot quicker. But I was so, it was such a period of, it was such a period of focus for me because I did it as a means to an end.
Yeah.
Um, but when I look back, I really enjoyed being in the military. And again, like I don't have like a really, super inspirational story as to why I joined. But when I look back, I'm so proud of being able to say that I served my country.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
Man, I just wanted
just,
to tell you too, and all. I mean, all these. Thank you. Like, thank you for doing that.
oh,
Like, we are
the
so
pleasure is
grateful.
truly mine.
We are so
Thank you for your
grateful.
gratitude. It's I feel like this 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 day and age, you definitely feel like I'll just put it out there. You
Yeah.
definitely feel like things like military or conservatives, conservative or religion, like
Mm,
they're almost ostracized now. Like it's like there's almost like oh, you were in the army, and there's this like, sometimes you get a sense there's this judgment or like, well, war is
yeah.
bad and all this. But I don't mean to sound dramatic, but a lot of people who are, a lot of, social justice warriors, a lot of people who are, on social media canceling people, like they're some of the most privileged and
Mm,
entitled people in the world. Like
yeah.
a lot of people don't have time to be doing that because they got to go to work,
Yeah.
or they got to figure out how they're going to keep the lights on, and it's
Yeah.
like we have those privileges because the people don't realize like how much bad there is, and is that bad there because of the military, or is the military there because of the bad? We
Yeah.
don't know. But
Yeah.
what I do know is that if we decided to get rid of it, life would be a
Yeah.
lot different. Like
Yeah. For sure.
human nature is human nature, and humans have been fighting
Yeah.
over land,
Forever.
ideology, religion since
Yeah.
the beginning of time.
Absolutely.
So I think it's pretty safe to assume that as
That's not
much
going
as
to
you don't
stop. Yeah.
exactly.
I
So
know.
yeah, it was yeah, the army was the army is definitely something I look back on proudly. And so I was in the army all up, like including I did tactical intelligence and then I did strategic on the back end of my time in the military. And that's when I was transitioned
Mm.
to working at the NSA, National Security Agency. So all up was about 5 years.
Okay.
Um, and when I so this is another thing I turned down. Um, about my last year in the army, I started doing the application processes for the three letters. I applied to FBI, I applied to Secret Service, ATF, and DEA. Because I'm like, you got to cast your net wide. And so I got through like the physical portion. I got through the first round of interviews. This was 2012, 13, 14, 17, 16, 17. Um, and so I'm progressing through all of these. And then, there's like gaps where, nothing's really happening. And one day, a guy who I was in the army with, and who was my roommate, he was like, hey, we should open a gym.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay. And like we had both like I've been bodybuilding for like about a year and a half at that point. He had started getting into weightlifting. Like we were both on YouTube looking at all the bodybuilding videos, and he kind of started getting into powerlifting. And when we would go to the gym, there'd be things we'd want to use, but they didn't have, or different
Uh,
bars or chains and stuff. And so we were like, let's open a gym that has all of that, that has everything all these other gyms in Augusta don't have. I've never owned a business before. He
yeah.
had never owned a business before. Like it was just like, okay, cool. And he was in Kuwait at the time, or yeah, he was in Kuwait at the time, and we were messaging. And so I'm like, okay, I'll start working on a business plan.
And you were in Augusta at the time?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
was in Augusta. I think I was just about to get out of. I think I was still in the military, just about to get out. Um, and so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll start working on a business plan. So I'm online, like looking at these business plans, like creating all this stuff, sending him drafts and stuff, and working on it day and night. Come up with this luxurious business plan.
Oh yeah.
Just I'm like, we're asking for. I think it was like we're asking for a modest $450,000 loan, like to
Yeah.
start, to get this started. And he comes back, and we start combing through stuff like equipment, and we're looking, and we're like, we would spend nights at the table just like for hours, and we had just like whiteboards and like stuff up on the walls and papers everywhere. It was so much fun. Like
It's like
so
the
like
movies. I
so
mean, that's
much
what we
fun.
think about, like running a business. We don't
Yes.
see the other side of it.
Exactly. So much fun, like drawing out the, what we want the layout to be, and researching buildings and stuff. And so we go to the bank, and they're like, did you get this? Did you get, like, who wrote this business plan for you? And I was like, well, I did. He's like, well, this is incredible. And he was like, yeah, he was like, we reviewed it. We will definitely, like, we'll gladly grant you this loan. Um, we just need a 20% equity injection. And I said, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, so if we give you 450,000, you need to give us 90,000. I'm like, oh, I didn't.
You're like, let me go to my money tree real quick. And
I was like, hold on a second. So we have to give you $90,000, like 45,000 a piece. And he was like, yeah. I said, oh, I said, okay, look, let me go back and just redraft this.
yeah.
So we try, and like this first business plan had childcare, had employees, maintenance.
Yeah.
I'm like talking like air conditioning and lights.
Sounds
I
awesome. I
stripped.
mean, yeah.
It sounds incredible, but we didn't have $90,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know.
So stripped it all the way back. So I think we ended up asking for. I think we ended up asking for $60,000.
Yeah. You bare
Like
boned it back. Yeah.
yeah, like bare boned. And like, look, we can scrap together 6,000 a
Yeah.
piece. I ended up maxing out. I ended up like trying to finagle. I didn't own anything. Like he didn't. I think he owned a truck or something like that. He put that up as collateral. Like we're asking family and friends for gifts, and you got to like have the money in your account for 90 days before you do this. And I maxed out my credit cards, like trying to like withdraw cash. I emptied out my Army TSP.
Oh yeah.
Like just like trying to put as much as we can into this gym. And we got the loan. We got the loan September 19th. That's when we signed the loan. And we just sat there like, okay, like September, and we were hoping to open in November, looking for buildings and stuff. The building we were gonna get from this CrossFit gym, we were like, okay, cool. Yep, they're like, yep, all you got to do is come in, repaint, turn the key, and you're good to go. We're excited. They pulled out of their deal, and so we were stuck without a building. They said because the building they were trying to get into, they couldn't get into. It's a 10,000 square foot building. They wouldn't tell us where it was though. So I spent one day, I drove around for 5 hours in Augusta trying to find this building. And I found it. And it was literally like just that, it was like down this like access road. And I called the number and I'm like, hey, we're interested in getting this building. He was like, how much of it do you want? I'm like, how much are you willing to give? He was like, I can give you 3,500 square feet. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Yep. Like, yeah, right away. Like, yeah, let's do it.
Was that big enough for your plan? I mean,
well, barely.
You were going to make it work. Yeah.
We were going to make it work. And thankfully, because the building we were going to go into was nowhere near big enough, like nowhere near. So this is just like serendipity, like the universe.
Thank goodness for closed doors.
Seriously. And so, no, I'm sorry. It was 5,000 square feet. That's what it was. Because each unit was like a four garage doors and each one was 2,500. So he gave us two. So he gave us 5,000 square feet. And the gym was supposed to open in October. October 1st comes, and we're looking for October 15th. I had quit my job, and I'm like, putting everything in, assuming that as soon as we open, the floodgates are just going to open, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, we're not going to be able to keep people out of this gym.
Yeah.
October 1st comes, it's still four walls. That's it. And I'm like, okay, like maybe they like to work in sprints, like maybe 2 weeks is enough time to put up walls, install plumbing, electricity, and have this thing running. A week goes by, another week, I'm like, it's not going to be ready, is it? He's like, oh no, like this building contractor was the slowest, like casual, and it was just him and this one other guy named Mike. And they had like a few, like they had a few migrant workers they worked with. And I'm like,
you're at the bottom of the list too. They would come and
at
go.
The bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Long story short, the gym didn't open until January. By that time, I was asking my mom for money almost every month, just like trying to stay above water. The only thing saving me was I re-enrolled in school to get a master's in exercise physiology, because I was like, well, opening this gym, I want to be knowledgeable. And the Army was paying my tuition. Yeah. And I was getting $700 a month for like housing allowance because I was in school. Literally the only reason I was able to make it. And so that was paying my rent.
I mean, how did that feel with people? I know I can just like put myself there. I mean, when you're telling everybody, because you guys are visionaries, you're telling everybody, here's what's coming, and it's like 3 or 4 months, and they're just like,
yeah. And it's the combination of the uncertainty of when the gym was coming, the pressure from the people who were expecting it, the financial strain, and just despair because I'd run out of money and wasn't sure when this gym was going to open, mixed with, and this is probably the biggest element, unfortunately, what I thought people were thinking about us and what I thought people would think if they knew I was broke, or if they knew like I was, my whole like grandiose plan we've been talking about wasn't going how it was going to go. The combination of those broke me. Even when the gym finally did open, we had nowhere near as many members as we thought we were going to have. We couldn't cover the bills for the first, like 6 months. I went through an episode of depression for about 2 months. Within like the first 2 or 3 months the gym opened. I had an eviction letter. I came home to an eviction letter on my door for the first time in my life. And it took a lot. It took a lot to keep going. And my business partner, sometimes, he'd come. I never forget this one day he came to the gym, and we usually come with something to eat, and he had 2 burgers today. And he gave me one, didn't say anything, he was like, here. And because I hadn't eaten, like
Oh,
I don't know how he knew. But I was starving.
yeah,
I've been, watering ramen noodles, for, I don't know how many days. I was making decisions between paper towels and toilet paper, you
yeah,
know, my food or dog food, you
yeah,
know, gas or gas for the water bill, what can I get away with?
yeah.
Um, and so that was rough. And it wasn't until April or May, I think we opened 2016. We hit a turning point, and we slowly started getting more members, and a lot of that pressure was alleviated.
I'm glad you
Um,
shared that because most people with plans and I mean, they don't realize small business is super, super hard. And there's a high rate of failure.
Huge rate of failure.
And I'm just glad you're honest and would tell that because it's so true. And
Yes,
maybe encourage somebody in the middle of that too. I mean, you lived in it.
it's yeah. I will say, it's we were fortunate that our vision was one that was viable in the city we were in, and what we wanted our gym to be. We were able to find a space that we could like custom build it to that, and we had the networks to kind of make it happen. But if you are sitting in that spot, and you feel like, oh, I can't do it, just like take a step back, take a few breaths, and just see if you can drive on for 6 more months. Like see if you can drive on for 6 more months and just see what happens. Like really commit for 6 more months, because that's what we did. And it's not always going to pan out, of course, but at least you push through for 6 more months, and then when you step back, you say, okay, I gave it my best shot. And that's going to come to cost sometimes. Like I lost a lot. Again, depression is a very real thing.
For
um
sure.
the stress was consuming. Like the only time I had solace is when I was asleep. As soon as I woke up, I'd be flooded with stress. So embarrassment, like it's hard. But if you are on that venture, you in a huge minority of people who are brave enough, and willing to do something like that. And so when the gym finally did start picking up, um, DEA and Secret Service came back and they said, "Hey, we'd like to offer you a position."
What was the
And
timing about that about? It was it just that's how it worked out timing
it,
wise?
it was just how it worked out timing wise,
Oh,
like literally.
wow.
And so I'm sitting in the gym one day, I see these emails, and I'm like, I actually just deleted those emails a few months ago because I would always go back and look at them. And I'm like, huh. And so my partner comes in, and I'm like, hey, guess what? Crazy thing. The DEA and Secret Service just offered me a job. Just trying to see like what he was gonna say.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you can't leave here, because in those nights and stuff when we were planning our operation agreement, we literally we wrote down on a piece of paper, we will not fuck each other over. And
Yeah.
we both signed it. And so
Yeah.
it's like here's my dream that I've been working for, and it's right there. All I got to do is reply.
And
But it's like,
he wouldn't.
you made this commitment, and you got to see it through. And so I said, unfortunately, I can't go forward. In the
Ah,
process at this point, they've never replied faster in their lives. As soon as I said can't go forward, they're like, thank you, you've been removed from the application process.
oh
Gone. I'm like, I,
gosh,
I,
man,
I
that's
sat with
painful to
that.
hear.
I sat with that, and I'm like, well, you know what? That's life. Doors open and I walk through them, and sometimes the other door closes,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Um,
But what about
but
character you showed in that and integrity? I mean,
Yeah,
for what it's
exactly.
worth, that's a big deal, and it's worth a lot.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it.
I mean, 9
And
out of 10 people would have. I mean, we're lawyers. We know we've seen the broken contracts all the time. So I'll tell you right now, 9 out of 10 people will break that and move on. So I appreciate the fact that you're operating with that type of a character and integrity. I
yeah,
mean,
for sure, man. And look, the gym is, 5 years, 5 years strong now. We got, 300, 300, around 300, 400 members. Um, and my business partner, actually, he got married um last year, and I was able to make it up to that wedding, and he met her, because of the gym. And to go there and see all the people that are there because of the gym and like the community it's built and the friendships,
it's
I'm like,
incredible. Oh wow,
I'm
I'm so
like,
glad
come
there was a
on,
happy ending on that. I was gonna be mad if you
yeah.
were saying.
Yeah, so it's so the gym is still going. But around this time is when I kind of got introduced to Les Mills as well.
Okay.
Um, and so I just like walked past the class one day in the gym, and I said, I want to teach that class. And it was a Les Mills body combat class, their
And
fighting program.
they were doing that in your gym. I mean,
No, no,
y'all
no.
were.
This
Oh,
was
okay.
this is at a gym I was personal training at, or I was working at the time before I transitioned to mine. Um, and I said, yeah, I want to teach that class. And 2 weeks later, I went and got certified. Had been teaching for about 7 months, and a friend of mine who was on the U.S. national Les Mills team was like, "Hey, I'd like to flag you to try for the U.S. team." And I was like, "I don't know what that is, but yeah, sure, let's do it." Sent in a video, and they invited me to onboard for the team. So I onboarded for the U.S. team and got on the U.S. team beginning of 2017. And from there, I about 6 months later, yeah, maybe 5 months later, something. It was actually 3 months later. I got an email from Les Mills International saying, "We saw a video of you teaching. We'd like to invite you to New Zealand um, to film one of our master classes for Pump and Combat." And I was like,
Wow.
"Yeah, let's do it." Um,
You have to go to New Zealand. I mean, that offer at least to
yeah,
go check it
exactly. You
out.
have to. And so around this time, so this was, like spring summer, that 2017. um I had so the gym had been doing the gym been doing really well, and it got to a point where like we had a little more freedom, independence, and had to be at the gym all the time. So I had applied to a job at the NSA again, but at a higher GS level. And I like went through my interviews, psychological interview, all of this stuff. They're like, okay, cool. Well, we'd like to offer you this position. You would start in August 2017, no, September 2017. And I said, okay, cool. I go to New Zealand, July 2017. And after filming, Kylie Gates and Jackie Mills, they say, we'd like to make you an ambassador for Les Mills International. I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, you'll come to New Zealand a few times a year to film these releases, about, roughly like, a week or 2 weeks at a time. You'll do events around the world. How does that sound to you? And I'm like, that sounds great. But in the US, you only get 2 weeks of leave a year.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that and do this. And so they're like, well, just think about it and, let us know. And, coming from America, there's nothing like that. Just beautiful 9 to 5 with benefits, and like you got your stability. Every 2 weeks the money's coming in, and this is going to be a 6 to 2 Monday through Friday. Looking at 4 screens, sitting in the basement up in DC, fighting terrorists, and I'm like, and this was going to be sitting at, I think I was going to be sitting at 105K a year, and I'm like,
Did you say no again?
I said no.
Oh, come on. I'm seeing a theme here, man. It's starting to hurt.
I said no. I said no because I talked to my mom, and I talked to my mom. I talked to the head of the U.S. team at the time, who was a very trusted friend of mine. And my mom was like, what is your heart saying? She was like, the NSA will always be there. The government will always be there. And they're like, but to find these, opportunity to travel the world and to do this, like you should at least just try it out. Does that mean you'll have less stability? Yes. Does that mean you need to, personal train, to help, make ends meet and to, support yourself? Yeah, sure. But it'll be a lot of fun. And so I said, oh, you're right. You're right. And so I turned down the NSA.
Oh my goodness.
I
But
turned
you
down
know
the
what?
NSA.
That's awesome of your mom, because the
Yeah,
fact that she would say that and not say take the stable route and all that. I mean, she knows you
yeah,
well properly. I mean, she
yeah,
she, she knows
exactly.
you like you're not gonna be happy unless you have that
Definitely.
element of adventure or something in you.
Yeah, for sure. And, because I went to New Zealand, I saw this woman in the back of a room, in the back of a class one day. And the next day I found out she was a friend of a friend and went up to her, and her name was Felicity. And I'm like, first thing I ever said to her was, hi, my name is Marlon. I love you and I want to marry you.
Oh,
And and that woman, Felicity, is who I'm married to right now
that's,
in Australia. So that'll be that story is incredible. I'll have to tell you that story on maybe we'll do a part two.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, but walking through those doors in the sequence that I did, and taking the opportunities when they came, and being okay with being uncomfortable, and being okay with like leaving secure and leaving the known is exactly why I'm sitting right here in Sydney, Australia,
Yeah.
instead of in Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland, or instead of in Augusta, Georgia, or in Cincinnati, Ohio. Like it's those decisions have led me to this place where is this what I was visualizing when I was 18 years old? Absolutely not. But would I trade this for anything else?
No,
Absolutely not.
no.
Because the experiences that I've had and the things that I've learned are just, and just the life experience is just, and I'm 33 years old,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've done 50 years of living,
I
like,
mean,
in
just
just like
from
the,
just from our little bit of recording, it makes me feel like you've done 50 years of living. I mean, just
yeah, like when I
oh,
like when I tell people about it, it kind of reads like the Forrest Gump movie. It's like, like you're doing like all these things, and a
mhm,
lot of these things happen, at the same time in such short amount of time. But it's because I was always willing to at least to try it,
yeah,
to, well, okay, let's just do it and see what happens. And I'm not, oblivious to the fact that, I'm smart, um, I'm ambitious, I'm driven, and I do have an incredible mother, who supported me through all those decisions. My incredible wife, who made it possible for me to even move here at all. We both moved heaven and earth for that to happen.
yeah, for sure.
um and but it's I see so many people. One of the things that pains me the most is I see so many people who are in a situation or circumstance or position or place in their life that maybe that is comfortable but bad.
Yeah,
Like it's a bad spot, but it's comfortable because it's familiar.
yeah,
And I'm not telling people to eat, pray, love their self, and their self all the way to map the mountains into bed or something like that. But I'm saying, like, and circumstances, situations are different, finances, children, property, like there's tons of different circumstances. I get that. But there are so many people who the only thing holding them back is they're
yeah.
just afraid of that unknown.
That's it.
And if I could convey, if I could wrap my life to date up in like just like one phrase, it would be walk through the door.
Yeah,
Like,
I know that was the question I want to ask you too. Like, what's your life message? Like, what would you encourage people with? Walk through the
walk
door.
through the door, walk through the door. Like there are so many things so many opportunities we come across that we say no to. So I mean, no is one of my favorite words, but like, it's there's so many things we come across, and so many pivot points in our lives, and just like these forks in the road that you see it and you're like, maybe, but nah, like you just push it off just long enough to where you don't have to make a decision about it, or a decision gets made for you, and
And
then
the
you're like, well,
opportunity's gone. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, an opportunity's gone. And it's like, if I would have said, if I would have said no to any one thing along the way, everything would be completely different. Hell, even if I was 2 inches taller, my life would be completely different, because trying to play as a 5'8" football player is much different than trying to play as a 5'10" football player. Like, so different scholarships, different schools. Like, so
Mm,
there's things I've turned down. Obviously,
mm,
there's
yeah.
things I've turned down. Um, but there's a lot of things that I've said yes to, and each one of those has led me to a different set of doors,
Yeah.
to go through. And so
So
I've just,
is that what led to writing your book too? I mean, you're 33 and you've already written a book too. So tell me about that.
yeah,
Tell us about the book and tell us where we can find it. And
well,
I want to hear.
you know what, the book actually the book probably took me about, I want to say closer, to 5 or 6 years to write. Because I started when I was in the US, and the book started as this ego trip. Like, oh, I've done a few things, Mike. I got a bunch of funny stories to tell. I want to write a book, and I think somebody's gonna adapt it into a movie or a TV show one day.
Yeah.
And so I start writing. I get like 80 or 90,000 words, and I send it off feedback to an editor. It got destroyed,
Oh,
Josh. Like,
yeah.
I'm talking about to the point where I was questioning everything I've ever done in my life. Like, it was the
Oh,
most
man.
painful thing. And this person doesn't know me. So, like, obviously, they're not like criticizing me, but it's like, you write this book because you think it's so cool and you want it to be a TV show. And they're like, where's the character development? There's no plot. What's the point of this book? What are you trying to what are you trying to get
Oh, man.
across?
No
Like,
punches. Like,
this like pulled no punches. I mean, it was like, to the point where I put that down for a year.
oh,
I
wow.
said, I don't want to see it.
Oh,
And what's incredible about the book is the book shrunk as I grew.
mm,
And so as I learned more, and as I began to mature and then go through my own periods of growth, and I'm still growing, still maturing, um, I began to see what was superfluous in the book, what was wrong, what was stupid, what was arrogant, and I'm like, started to strip away. And so that process probably took, it was an iterative process, over about 3 or 4 years, 3 years. And when I got to Australia, I sat down, I had plenty of time, and I was like, I'm gonna try and like rework how I do this. And I sent it for feedback to a friend, and they're like, it still seems disorganized, but how do you feel about organizing people into chapters? Because I wanted to, talk about the lessons I had learned from interactions with individuals in my life and give each person a chapter name. And I'm like, okay, that'd be cool. And then that kind of melded into, I'm at a place where I love concision. I want to be concise. And I was like, I want this book to just be, I want it to be punchy. I just want it to be like just exactly what you need, handheld, very easy to digest, like simple passages. And so I began to, cut back on it even more. And 2000, it was, yeah, 2021. I said, this was like April, May, June. I'm like, you know what? I got some time off. It was locked down. I'm really gonna focus and like kind of finish this. And so the book right now has 53 chapters. And it had 103 when I was like, I want to make sure I want to like put some work into it.
man, they say
And
that's the hard part. Like, it is
yes,
hard. It is hard to shorten stuff.
it is very difficult,
Yeah.
because when you're writing it, all of your words are important. And you're
Yeah.
like,
It's your
well,
babies. Yeah.
yeah, it's my baby. So I'm like, well, I need all of this. Nothing is going. And so it took a lot of just objectivity, sending for feedback, not being afraid of what people are going to say. to really strip away and combine chapters and take this one out and put it down for a few days, pick it back up, read it again. And I got down to the 53 and I sent it to an editor. I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like, let's try this again.
You're kind of squinting, like send it and squint, wait for it, wait for it. I know, I'm flinching.
So I sent it to this amazing editor in New York. She had been editing for like 30 or 35 years. Like incredible reviews. And so I'm like, I'm setting this up for, it's as like a final manuscript, just like finishing touches, but also looking for feedback on, cohesiveness, etc. And she comes back and she's like, this has been one of the joys of my editing career, reading reading this book.
Oh man.
And
Wow.
for me, I responded right away and I said, "Are you just blowing sunshine up my ass?
Yeah.
Like just are you just trying to get a good review? Like, be honest with me." And she says, I appreciate the honesty in your sentiment, but rest assured, she said, I'll pull no punches.
Yeah.
Because I can't guarantee the best product if I do that. I've learned so much about you, and I've learned so much about myself reading
it
this
had to
book.
speak to her. I mean, it had to
And
speak to her
so,
such a big deal.
And so when that happened, I was like, I don't know, I know we shouldn't look for validation, but for me, that was really assuring, considering where the book started.
That's special. That's amazing.
Yeah. And
Congratulations
so
on that too. So
thank you.
can we get it on Amazon? I mean,
yeah. So
and
you
wherever.
can find it on Amazon. It's just on Amazon at the moment. It's
Okay.
called The Only One in the Room.
Okay.
By Marlon Woods, of course. It's on Amazon. It's in plenty of marketplaces. It's US, Amazon, Canada, France, throughout Europe, even Japan, which is a bit random, but you can get it there as well. And of course, Australia, New Zealand.
Do they tell you how many you sell when you sell them? I mean, you just kind of get real time notice of that, or is it just updates every once in a while?
There's like you can go on Amazon, Amazon publishing website and find, and we just crossed 5,000 copies.
Oh, that's great.
Which I think is just I'm just grateful. I'm totally grateful.
I wonder, just like new business startups, there has to be a high rate of book death before it reaches that even point. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what the stats are, but I know I bet there's a high percent that don't even come close to that.
Yeah, I think they said, the average lifetime for books self-published is, 250 or 300 books or something.
Yeah. So that's great. Wow.
And so I told myself when I wrote it and when I put it out there in the world, I said, I'm not doing it for the money. If one person messages me and says this book touched them and this book helped them, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
And to see the outpouring of support and to know that, my book and my writing and my words are on people's bookshelves all over the world, it's just something that I'm just great. Just gratitude.
So cool. Too good, man. Well, I need about 5 more minutes. I want to pick your brain about what is it like. So I think I've probably done quite a bit of body combat through with you as well, whether you knew it or not. So what's it like filming those things? And what is that like filming? I mean, is that an all day thing? I mean, you guys get out there in the middle of some of the coolest. I mean, I'm assuming there's some amazing facilities. It looks like.
Yeah, it is. It's quite an involved process. So I'm going at the end of April, right? And so we'll start rehearsals usually on a Monday, and you rehearse for 3 or 4 days, and you're just all you're doing is you do a class, watch the class, debrief the class, do a class.
It's like watching film. I mean, huh? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like watching film. You go and okay, well, this could have been said better, and look at the technique here, and our legs aren't matching here, and we should do this. And I do that for pump, I do that for combat. On the day, I think we run six cameras or five cameras, and lights come on, and they just press play, and it's like, okay, let's go.
God, I feel the pressure just from you telling about that. Like, no messing up.
It
You've had
is
3 days up.
and the thing is, like, that's 3 4 days. The choreo's changing, your tracks are changing sometimes, the moves are changing sometimes, and so it's literally like you don't have mind space for anything else. Like you have to fully immerse for that entire week, and it's you have to do that to ensure that when the day comes, you have as much mind space as possible available to just to remind yourself where you are. And so you're not thinking about the choreography and stuff like that, but you can focus on there's cameras moving, and if there's participants in there, and oh well, we're gonna do this cue, and oh we need to move here for this, and even like where you like even like where you're supposed to be on stage, like for each track. Um, but once you kind of get into a flow of things, it becomes a little easier, but the butterflies never leave.
Oh
Like
yeah, no way.
there was one release I got up there and I literally forgot how to stand up. I get up there and I'm like, is this stage slanted? I keep falling forward. And then my shoe came untied and I'm like, oh my goodness, like my shoe has never come untied before. Like, and so like it's just there's so many
Y'all
those
like, cut.
happen.
Come on, Marlon,
Yeah,
tie your shoe. Let's do it again. Like, so everybody's mad
yeah,
at
and
you. Like,
I will say it's different for me, like because I do it regularly. I have a relationship with the producers and the directors and the film crew and the program directors and the other presenters and stuff. So it's a lot more comfortable for me than it would be if you're going over for your first time. And even still, you still kind of get butterflies and jitters, and you're like, because this goes out to thousands of people in the world.
We're in small town Texas watching it in our living room in the
Yeah,
mornings, like working out. Like, yeah.
there's like I think like 400,000 subscribers to Les Mills on Demand, and then there's like I don't know, like 100,000 instructors across the world. Like, and so, and then they play it in clubs sometimes for virtual, and it's like you don't want to have something out there and people are just watching it over and over and over and over again, and
Yeah.
you like, oh, I messed this up. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes it happens. Like we're all human, but it's still
Yeah.
but it's
Wow.
fun though. But it's fun.
So who are some of the coolest instructors or some of your favorites? I mean, we're not saying we don't like the other ones, but who are
Yeah, of
some of the ones
course.
you really like?
My favorite people to work with
And maybe who
are
are the most hardcore people too? Like some of those guys look pretty.
probably so Glenn Ostergaard, who's the program director for Body Pump. I really enjoy working with Glenn. Ben Mann is a presenter for Body Pump, who I work with a lot as well. He's super chill.
So I like both the on Glenn stuff when it comes up, in the fitness programs y'all put together. Sometimes I'll just be like,
Yeah.
oh no, it's Glenn. Like
he's a really cool dude.
just hard workouts.
Just was hard. Like he enjoys the work. Like he's all about coaching the workout, and he doesn't get tired.
That's what's so frustrating. I know. So
yeah, right.
Him and Ben.
It's so frustrating. Him and Ben. I love working with Kylie Gates. Kylie is she's my rock, definitely. I've learned to enjoy working with Dan. The first time I went to filming, after the first time I presented, Dan gave me I had about 2 pages front and back written of feedback from him for one track. And he was like, yeah, so just work on this stuff for tonight. And I'm like, you want me to work on this stuff and fix this in a few hours? He was like, just try it. And it was, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to like action any of this, even in the next 48 hours. But then this weird thing started happening where like what was 50 pieces kind of started like melding into like bigger chunks. And so it became a little more digestible, like over the course of the next day or two. And then the next time I got up to present, all of a sudden the stuff started coming out, and he gives me this like this smug look, like, I told you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And so like what I enjoy is these people have been doing this for 2 decades. and as good as anybody thinks they are, nothing beats time on the tools.
Yeah.
And there's just things that they're going to know and understand much more intricately and intuitively than any of us are. And so I enjoy that about him. Like he's given me a few things over the years that have just elevated me, and they're very small things, and he's given them to me when I was ready to receive them.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Mm.
he's a cool dude.
Well, thank you. So how do people, the best way do they follow you on social, and how can they how can they like participate in one of your workouts? Is it the Les Mills Demands the best? Tell
Yeah,
us a little
so
bit how to
Les Mills.
connect with you and get the book. And then, man, unfortunately we are going to have to do round two. So
Yeah, all good, man. Yeah, so definitely easiest way to reach me is on Instagram. That's just at Marlon Woods _ um you can, and I can, get you a link to the book. That link will be in my bio. Well, not right now because there's a YouTube link in my bio now. But you can find the book I have a website. It's literally I can't remember what it is. I think it might be marlonwoodsau.com or something like that. I have to remember.
okay, but we can put the one and only, the only one in the room as well.
Yeah.
Google that, we'll
You
find that.
you can type in the only one on the room for the book. Yeah, for Les Mills workouts, if you type in Les Mills on demand or Les Mills plus, either of those, it'll take you to the website.
Marlon, thank you. Thanks for your honesty. Thanks for sharing
Yeah,
your
of course,
story.
man.
Man,
Definitely,
there's some
Josh. Thanks
people
for
who are
having
going to
me.
be moving forward because of that. So bless you, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, this is Micah. Me and Josh would like to thank you for joining us in the StoryField today. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion, and to learn more about us and the StoryField, visit thestoryfield.com. This podcast is sponsored by the Allen Firm, legal guides for many of life's situations. To learn more about the Allen Firm, visit allenlawfirm.com. Have a blessed day, week, and year, and we will see you next time on the StoryField.
This is Josh again. I just wanted to thank you for listening and let you know that this podcast is really about hope and about giving you hope for your life. So if you are listening and you're in a place where you're really feeling hopeless right now, or if you do not know Jesus, we have some great news to share with you and would love a chance to pray for you. Email us at hope@allenlawfirm.com. That's hope@allenlawfirm.com, and we'll reach out to you soon. Thank you for listening. God bless you.